session. In this session, we learn some of the diseases regarding to fish, some of the pathogens. This paper is aquaculture management cluster elective paper 8V2. Previously, we have learned viral diseases, bacterial diseases, and fungal diseases. Today, we learn some of the protozoan diseases. Is very important protozoan diseases. Numerous protozoan parasites live on fish and other aquaculture species and cause both external and internal diseases with serious mortalities in hatcheries and rearing facilities. Even moderate number of these organisms on small fish may prove fatal since the infections may cause the fish to stop feeding. Except in certain cases, the infected fish may die without showing any disease symptoms other than debilitation. The first protozoan most important disease is ichthyophriasis. Ichthyophriasis caused by the protozoan parasite Ichthyopthrias. Ichthyopthrias multifilis. Ichthyopris multifilis is considered to be one of the most detrimental disease in pond culture of fresh and brackish water fish. All species of pond cultured fish, including common carp, Chinese carp, and trout, are susceptible to the disease. Ichthyopis multifilis has a round or ovoid body that is 0.5 to 1 millimeter long with a small rounded mouth. Longitudinal rows of cilia can be found on the surface of the body, converging at the anterior end. This is the ichthyophriasis caused by protozoan parasite Ichthyophriasis multifilus. The large macronucleus is horseshoe shaped and has numerous contractile vacuoles. The species multiplies on fish by repeated binary fission. The mature parasites trophantes break the white epithelial tubercle that covers them and enter the water. They settle at the bottom and attach themselves to submerged objects. On attachment, the parasite become enclosed in a gelatinous cyst and multiplies. One trophant divides into as many as 2000 ciliated bodies. They emerge into the water by dissolving the cyst which encloses them with the enzyme hyaluronidase. They swim free for 2 or 3 days, and if a host is found during that period, they penetrate under the skin, grow and mature. If they do not find any host, they will die. The optimal temperature for development is 25 to 26 degrees centigrade, the optimal temperature. Outbreak of the disease usually occur in spring and summer seasons at high water temperature and under conditions of overcrowding that facilitate the spread of the disease very easily. In light infections, the fish show restlessness and gather in groups near the water inlet. In heavy infections in yearlings, more severe symptoms can be noticed, including acute restlessness, the fish rubbing against the bottom and sides and collecting in masses near the inlet. Small tubercles occur on the body and the fish stop feeding and cease reacting to stimuli. In advanced cases, the fish swim at the surface and rush around swallowing air. Small white tubercles cover the entire body, and severe lesions of the cornea and blindness may also occur. The fact that the non-parasitic stages of ichthyopthriasis are very sensitive to environmental factors makes it somewhat easier to prevent infection. The destruction of carrier fish is an essential aspect of prevention. Disinfection of contaminated water or equipment is recommended. Even dilute solutions of salt will kill encysted parasites and the ciliated bodies. The ciliated bodies can also be killed by drying the ponds or other rearing facilities. A pH below 5 and oxygen concentrations of less than 0.8 mg per liter are reported to be fatal. Even though vaccines are not available for immunization of fish against ichthyophilus, repeated infections apparently provide relatively immunity. In ponds, treatment with 0.1 ppm malachite green or 15 ppm formalin once twice of 3 times has been reported to be effective. Here please observe malachite green 15 ppm. The తర్వాత నెక్స్ట్ vaccines are not available. The conditions of the below pH 5, oxygen concentration less than 0.8 mg per liter are reported to be fatal. These fatal conditions. Next, protozoan, another disease, ichthyopdosis. Ichthyopdosis. Ichthyopdosis, previously known as coccidiosis, coccidiosis, is a severe disease affecting many species of fish, including common carp and trout, especially the younger age groups. It is caused by the flagellate Ichthyopdo nectar, that is Coccidia nectrix. The parasite attaches itself to the skin of the host. Its anterior end forms finger-shaped process at the point of attachment, which penetrate into the cell of the host and suck its contents. The parasite multiplies by longitudinal division and dies when it falls from the host. Transmission takes place through water. Under adverse conditions, the body of the parasites becomes rounded. It can live at temperatures ranging from 2 to 30 degrees centigrade or higher, but multiplies rapidly at 20 to 25 degrees centigrade, a pH ranging from 4.5 to 5.5, very favorable for mass reproduction. In carp farms, ichthyopdosis occurs frequently in spawning ponds at higher temperatures. The incidence of the disease decreases rapidly when the young fish are transferred to rearing ponds. The incidence of the disease decreases rapidly when the young fish are transferred to rearing ponds. A characteristic symptom of the disease is the appearance of dull spots on the sides, which eventually become fused into a continuous grayish film by the increased secretions of mucus. The fins are frequently affected, starting with the erosion of the tissue between the rays, which becomes exposed. The fry becomes emaciated and therefore the head looks enlarged. The infected gills are pale and covered with mucus. The fry rise to the surface and congregate near the inlet, swallowing air. To avoid the incidence of the disease, young fish should be given nutritionally adequate food and should not be kept into long in spanning and rearing ponds. Carp spanning ponds should be disinfected with quicklime before spanners are introduced. Carrier fish should be eliminated and the water supply should be kept free from parasites. Ichthyopdo infection can be effectively treated in ponds with 15 to 50 ppm formalin, 2 to 3 ppm potassium permanganate, or 0.1 ppm malachite green are advised to treatment. A combination of 0.5 ppm malachite green with 15 ppm formalin has also been found to be effective treatment for theopdosis. Here, please remember quicklime before infection. After infection, the chemicals generally we are using formalin, potassium permanganate, malachite green. This is Castia nectrix. Castia nicotrix. It is a protozoan parasite. Another most important disease, whirling disease. Whirling disease. Whirling disease caused by the protozoan Myxosoma cerebralis. This disease is caused by the protozoan parasite Myxosoma cerebralis. Is one of the well-known disease of salmonioids and has been reported from many parts of the world, including the whole of Europe, North and South America, Africa, Asia and New Zealand. It affects all species of trout and salmon, particularly the young fish. A common sign or symptom of this disease is rapid trail chasing behavior. When the fish are frightened or trying to feed, this is caused by the parasite feeding on the cartilage of young host fish. In advanced stages of this disease, skeletal deformation, including deformed heads, jaws and gills covers, as well as spinal curvature can be observed. When exposed to the disease early in life, trout may develop black tail black tail disease. Whirling disease caused by Myxosoma cerebralis. It is a protozoan parasite. It is mainly affected fishes are salmonioids. It is a worldwide disease. It affects all species of trout and salmon, particularly young fish. Tail chasing behavior. The common symptom of the disease is tail chasing behavior. Generally, fish is not taking any feed. Another chronicle symptoms are skeletal deformations, head deformations, jaws and gill covers are damaged, spinal cord is curvature. These are the other severe symptoms when affecting the whirling disease of fish. Trout may develop black tail disease also. Acutely infected fry reared in contaminated water may not show any symptoms before high mortality sets in. When exposed or older fish exhibit less whirling behavior. Again, fish with light infections may not show any signs at all, but will actually be carrying spores throughout their life. Confirmation of diagnosis has to be by isolation of spores or immature forms of the parasite in histological sections. Infected fish, contaminated water and mud are known to be the reservoirs of infection. It has been reported that the spores may survive for 10 to 15 years in contaminated mud. This research is done by Christensen 1972. This report observed by Christensen 1972. The exact route of infection has not yet been fully determined, but it would appear that the spores released by dead or living fish develop infectivity in mud after a period of 4 to 5 months. Hoffman and Fuss 1969. It has been suggested that tubificide worms may be involved in the transmission. Spores can survive as long as 2 months in frozen infected fish. These are the main symptoms and signs of the infected fish. While rainbow trout and Atlantic and kokanee salmon may become severely diseased by the parasite, brook trout, koha salmon, and lake trout seem relatively resistant to the disease. The first 12 months of the life of the fish are the most susceptible period for infection. Fish between 4 and 5 months old do not develop acute clinical signs even when infected and may severe as asymptomatic carriers. Spores formation in infect fish takes about 52 days at 17 degrees centigrade. It may take about 28 weeks after exposure for symptoms of the disease to appear. The only means of preventing infection by Myxosoma cerebralis is to prevent contact to susceptible fish with the parasite. The importation of infected fish or use of contaminated water should be avoided. Contaminated water should be avoided. Since the disease has become established in certain areas, it is extremely difficult to eradicate the pathogen. The use of resistant strains has been suggested as a management alternative through regulation of imports of fish and fish eggs by approved certification procedures. Spread of the disease to uncontaminated areas can be controlled. There is no known effective therapy for the disease. Copepod infections. Next, some other copepod parasites family Argulidae. Argulidae, Ergacillidae and Lernidae often infect several species of cultivated fish such as common carp, trout and Chinese carps. The parasitic crustacea of epizootical interest are all warm loving species with optimal temperatures above 20 degrees centigrade. They have worldwide distribution. No intermediate hosts are involved in their development and all of them multiply in fish ponds if the temperature is favorable and fish are overcrowded. The best known among them are Argulus foliaceus and Lernia cyprinaceae. These are the two species Argulus foliaceus and Lernia cyprinaceae. Argulus, వీటిని తెలుగులో చేప పేలు అని కూడా అంటారు. ఆర్గులోసిస్ కాజ్డ్ బై ది స్పీసీస్ ఆర్గులస్. దిస్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఫిష్ లైస్. Very very important. Argulus is otherwise known as fish lice, namely Argulus foliaceus, Argulus japonicus and Argulus giordanii. Is one of the most common and widely distributed external infections of several species of fish including common carp, trout, grass carp, black carp, bream and eel fishes. Outbreak of Argulus often develop into epizootics, causing mass mortality. Argulus is a large parasite with a wide, oval, flattened, grayish green body. I will show you diagram. Next slide. The organs of attachment and in curved hooks, there is a suctorial proboscis and suckers of the ventral side and 4 pairs of swimming legs. Argulus has 4 pairs of swimming legs. These are the Argulus, Argulus japonicus, Argulus foliaceus. This is these two diagrams. Argulus japonicus, Argulus foliaceus. చేప పేలు అంటారు వీటిని. చూడడానికి అలాగే ఉంది. ది ఫిమేల్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్గ్లస్ ఫోలియేషియస్ విచ్ ఈస్ ద మోస్ట్ కామన్ ఆఫ్ ది త్రీ స్పీసీస్ lays eggs on submerged objects in batches of 250 to 300 which are attached to substrates. Depending on the temperature, the embryonic development takes 15 to 55 days. The larvae that hatch out swim free in water for 2 to 3 hours and die unless they find a host. Eggs die rapidly if they become dry. Younger fish appear to be more susceptible to infection. Older fish may not suffer from the infection but would become carrier of the parasite. Because of the lack of the host specificity, Argillus generally considered a great risk in aquaculture. It attaches itself to the fish, pierces the skin with its proboscis, injecting a toxic secretion, and sucks the blood of the host. The would develop inflammation with profuse secretion of mucus, edema, and hemorrhages. The wound becomes necrotic and the lesion may become secondarily infected. The greater susceptibility of the young ones is ascribed to the fact that the proboscis pierces both the epidermis and dermis, whereas in adults it is able to damage only the epidermis. Prevention of argillosis consists of isolation of susceptible young fish from older age groups and preventing contact between infected fish and parasite contaminated water. Ponds should be dried and disinfected after every rearing to kill the eggs of the parasites. Still placed in different areas of the pond bottom can serve as traps for the eggs of the parasites. Arglers would attach eggs to the stick. It is reported that by daily removal of the sticks, most of the eggs can be removed and destroyed. This research done in Bellerin and Hatton, 1979. Placement of wooden shields in a chessboard pattern of oviposition of Argillus has been suggested by Kissel and Livia, 1953. They suggested removal of the shields every 15 to 20 days depending on the temperature, drying them for a day and then replacing them. Effective removal of eggs can thus be achieved for curative treatment. Several chemicals have been recommended including malathion and Diptrex at 0.25 ppm and bromex at 0.12 ppm. Bromex appear to have greater safety margin. Dip bath of Lysol, 1 milliliter Lysol for 5 liter of water for 5 to 15 seconds, or potassium permanganate 1 gram in 1 liter for 40 seconds are also reported to be effective. Fish ponds can be treated with trichloroform. For carp and eels, 0.2 grams per meter cube. For more sensitive species such as trouts, if necessary, the treatment should be repeated after 2 or 3 weeks. Please remember, students, these are the most important chemicals: bromex, potassium permanganate, trichloroform. These are the important to treat the disease. Another important disease is lernosis. Lernosis are anchorworm disease caused by the species of the genus Lernia. Has been observed in a number of freshwater fish including common and Chinese carps. They are very sensitive to salinity and cannot survive even low concentration of salt. The two species of epizootic importance appear to be Lernia cyprinaceae and Lernia ctenopharyngodosis. Ctenopharyngodosis, the mature females of the species have a long unsegmented body and the head has branched processes with which the parasite can penetrate the body of the host. There are no intermediate hosts of the species and the free living larvae parasitize and skin of gills or fish. Lernia cyprinaceae will parasitize may species of fish, but Lernia ctenopharyngodosis appears to prefer the grass carp. The metamorphosis of Lernia cyprinaceae is rather complex with 3 napli and 5 copepodic stages. Each female developed 2 egg sacs with 300 to 700 eggs. The optimal temperature is reported to be 20 to 30 degrees centigrade and the embryonic development takes 3 days. Hatching takes place on the 4th day. The development of Napier stages lasts for 4 to 5 days, followed by copepod stages in the next 9 to 10 days. The copepod proid larva must find a host and attach itself for further development into the free swimming cyclopid stage. Mating takes place during the stage after which the males die and the females penetrate the skin of fish. Settling in the muzzle and remaining attached to the host. Depending on the temperature, between 2 and even 11 generations have been observed in 1 year. The parasite enter the fish rearing facilities through water supplies. When it penetrates the skin of the host, reaching the muzzles, deep ulcers, abscess or fistulas are formed at the point of attachment. The margins of the ulcer are bright red or grayish in color. Secondary infections may set in this time. The inflammation at the point of penetration result in the formation of parasitic fibrous nodules. The parasite may also penetrate the liver, causing focal traumatic hepatitis. It is difficult to eradicate adult parasites as they are very hardy and resistant to most chemicals. Potassium permanganate baths and a concentration of 2 ppm for 1 to 2 hours may kill most of the parasites. But it has been reported that within a short time, young parasites begin to develop again. The free living larval stages can move easily be controlled. Bromex at a concentration of 0.1 to 0.15 ppm, active ingredient in pond water, can kill these stages. The application has to be repeated 3 times at intervals of about 7 days in summer and 12 to 14 days at lower temperatures. This is leniasis in common carp. The parasites are attached under the scales. Trematode infections. Among the other major cause of infection of importance in aquaculture are larvae of trematodes. Dactylogyrosis is a common disease. Please remember, dactylogyrosis is a trematode parasite infection caused by species of the genus Dactylogyrus or the gill fluke. Dactylogyrus, otherwise known as gill fluke, which affects common carp, Chinese carp and other fish. Dactylogyrus is small in size and occurs on the gill filaments. A number of species have been identified, but the one of the epizootic interest for carp appear to be Dactylogyrus vastator, and Dactylogyrus extensus. They attached themselves to the gills and under favorable conditions such as temperature below 30 degrees centigrade develop rapidly. They have hermaphrodites and lay eggs that fall to the bottom of the pond or other rearing facilities. The larvae which hatch out are ciliate and swim around until they attach themselves to the gills, body surface or oral cavity of a host and begin to grow. This is a trematode parasite, mainly trematodes, that is Dactylogyrus, otherwise known as gill fluke. Irrespective of the place of initial attachment, they will subsequently congregate on the gills and when mature, start laying eggs, repeating the life cycle. Dactylogyrus vastator seems to prefer warm water environments and infects mainly young carp, causing heavy mortality depending on the intensity of infection. Dactylogyrus extensus, on the other hand, prefers temperature below 17 degrees centigrade. In addition, this species occur in both young and adult fish and is more pathogenic. The intensity of infection increases with the age of the host. In both cases, older fish are the source of infection. Infected fish become restless and collect near water outlets. The gills are damaged and become covered with mucus, inhibiting normal respiration. This is the main symptom of the dactylogyrosis, trematode infection. The infection can be controlled by the usual sanitary measures in pond farms. Ammonia baths are recommended for treatment at concentration of 2 ml, 25% ammonia solution per liter water of for half to 1 minute. Bromex 50 and Dipterex have also been used successfully. The species of Dactylogyrosis infecting grass carp have been identified as Dactylogyrosis lamellatus and Dactylogyrosis ctenopharyngodonis. Dactylogyrus hypothalmictis. Dactylogyrus hypothalmictis is the common parasite in silver carp, and Dactylogyrus erectus and Dactylogyrus nobilis of big head and Chinese carp hybrids. They do not appear to infect other pond fish. The symptoms of the disease are generally very similar and the treatment recommended is also the same. This is the dactylogyrosis. It is hermaphrodite, both male and female sex organs present in the same animal, which mainly affected the gills of the fish. Public health and aquaculture. Even though the main concern of the aquaculturist is the health of the species being cultured, the implications of aquaculture activities for human health and well-being are of equal importance. As continuation of this enterprise and public support for it will depend on its safety levels. Needless to say, his own health and that of his family and the community are directly involved. The hazard to public health are much greater in tropical areas where there is greater prevalence of waterborne diseases. These are the some of the protozoan, trematode and other protozoan diseases which are mainly dactylogyrosis, trematode infection, lerniasis caused by the species genus Lerniae, Argulus, fish flies, Argulus otherwise known as fish flies, చేప పేలు అంటారు దీన్ని, ఇది కూడా చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. Argulosis or Argulus, causing Argulus. copypod infections. Whirling disease, Myxosoma cerebralis, most important. Whirling disease. Ichthyopdosis, protozoan parasite disease. Ichthyopdosis. Ichthyopthriasis. Ichthyopthriasis also protozoan parasitic disease. Ichthyopthriasis multifilus. One ichthyopthriasis, second protozoan parasitic disease. Ichthyopdosis, second parasitic protozoan parasitic disease. Ichthyopdosis. Whirling disease, it is also protozoan, third protozoan parasite disease. Myxosoma cerebralis. Copypod infection disease, Argulus. It is copypod, argulosis. Lerniasis, it is caused by Lernia, otherwise known as anchorworm disease. Lerniasis, otherwise known as anchorworm disease, caused by Lernia. Please remember, anchorworm disease, Lerniasis. Lerniasis in common carp, the parasite are attached under the scales. చేప పులుసు లోపలికి ఇవి చొరబడతాయి. Trematode infection disease, dactylogyrosis. This is only one important disease, dactylogyrosis. Please remember. It is dactylogyrosis. Public health and aquaculture. Dear students, we have so far discussed viral, bacterial, fungal, protozoan disease in part wise. Please consolidate all the disease and write down the notes by seeing all these videos. Thank you for listening. Wish you all the best.